You argue convincingly and present a lot of data that sheer job performance doesn't correlate that well with promotion or the acquisition of power. And of course, that's a sobering thing if you've been told, growing up through your whole career that, hard work and whatever pays off and that it is a meritocracy. You're saying maybe not so much.
Well, and all you have to do is read. To go back to something you've already alluded to in one of your questions, all you have to do is go back and look at the recent financial crisis and all that's gone on, the low correlation between CEO pay and performance. And there was a very interesting article in the New York Times, which I'm sure you saw some months ago, which talked about what happens to the directors. Many companies have had catastrophes, Lehman, Bear Stearns, Citigroup, etc. What has happened to the directors of these companies? And the point of the New York Times article that the answer to that question is essentially nothing. That the directors in many instances were appointed or have continued to serve on very prestigious boards. And so this idea that somehow it's all going to come back. It may, but probably not in this life. And so there is a lot of research evidence that suggests that while there's certainly a statistically significant and substantively important correlation between job performance and career success, the correlation is far less than one. And anybody watching this can think about, I think, their own experience and look at their own environment and think to themselves, are there people who have gotten ahead that I know who haven't done a particularly good job? And are there people who have done a particularly good job who haven't gotten ahead?
It's interesting, and again, kind of a little depressing, because when you start with that assumption that the power you have is not all that tightly correlated to job performance. You meant, the CEO data is pretty convincing on that. Number two, you present some data that it's not also that much correlated with raw intelligence. What that seems to suggest is that organizations are going to end up being led not necessarily by the competent or the intelligent, but the Machiavellian. And is that a situation we accept, or is it one we try to change over time?
Well, I don't know if we're going to accept it or try to change it. It is certainly not this. I agree with the premise of the question that it is often, I think, depressing. But I think if you look around, and again, this refers back to your question, which I agree with completely. Are our political leaders exactly the right people? Probably not. Are our corporate leaders, to go back to your comment about the recent financial crisis, were those all the right people? I think the answer to that is certainly not.